who's a traffic engineer that we've worked with on numerous projects, including the one currently underway on Front Street. The only additional component I would add here is from a strategic standpoint of when we should go out and do this traffic study, which includes count numbers, is to wait until school is back in session, which, hey, good news, we don't have to wait very long. Sorry to the kids that are, I'm sure, pumped to go back to school next week. And so that way we'll add that level of traffic. Certainly as someone that travels that corridor on a daily basis, I know that there is an increase in traffic. I think anybody that's trying to make a left-hand or southwestbound turn onto 2440 off Pleasant Street in the mornings, even when it's not school, will attest to how many more cars are in that corridor. And so I think it'll benefit us. I know it'll benefit us in our grant application, but it would be good to get a handle on just what the traffic's doing in that corridor. I can't remember if the document that we submitted in the packet, I'll look as quickly as I can, talks about the corridor. We've had some ongoing discussions with BG staff about kind of what are the parameters or the bookends for the traffic study, and one of the pieces that we're still kind of going through, or hopefully made it to the final cut, is the need to really go south all the way to the County Road 1 intersection. That property had just recently been annexed into the city limits. We know that that property recently sold. We know there's development interest, and so it just seems like if we're really looking at the span of that corridor, we should be including that. And I think originally it stopped maybe just short of that, kind of closer to where the old Kansas Avenue exit access point came in. And again, that my understanding, because that occurred before I got here, was Kansas Avenue access went away when the new, or the existing, which were the new improvements to County Road 1 were made. So with that, staff is recommending moving forward with this study. And I think the time frame is we're kind of in a 60 day time period for a report after the data is collected. Be happy to answer any other questions. Brian could probably answer questions if you had anything specifically for BG on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brockovich. Any questions, council?
Yeah, I've got, obviously we have to do it. We've done traffic studies forever, and on anything on 2440, we need to do that. But in a bigger picture, George, where does this lead us in the time frame and the shelf life of the value of the traffic study? So if we do the traffic study now, and because this thing's significant, and who's going to pay for it, how's it going to get paid for in the long run? So I think the last number we saw was $14 million. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that taxpayers of the city of Tonganoxie can handle that, first of all. Right. So how are we going to pay for that? And I know we need the study. I absolutely have to have it. Yeah. But in the long term, in the big picture, when does that conversation of how that thing's going to get paid for come up? Because we're talking, unless my guess is it'll be more than $14 million. We get some grants, we'll do whatever. But if we get there and they find that the numbers are too big, how long is the shelf life of that product? Is it 2 years, 3 years? Brian probably knows that off the top of his head.
Yeah, no, good question. So I'm not really sure that there's an immediate shelf life concern here, and I don't think that's maybe the core of your question anyway. A lot of the traffic study, it will present the data that's there now. The engineering group will have to do projections about based on growth factors and how that will change over time. I think the reference to the 14 million is a larger corridor that we talked about. So that includes a new intersection at 14th Street, an extension of 14th Street then to the east to make a connection to East Street, and an extension of East Street off the school campus, a correction of the misaligned intersection at Washington and East Street by the school campus, and potentially some other improvements along that corridor. But I think if we're looking just at the 14th Street corridor, when we look at future growth opportunities for the community, that seems to be the natural path. The city's already extended water and sanitary sewer infrastructure in through that area. We know that there's approximately, depending on how many properties you look at, 250 to 300 acres that's owned by only 6 property owners, one being the school district. We know that nearly every property owner is engaged with either the city or with a developer to sell their property to for projects. And so we think that things will move pretty quickly. One of the things we're talking with the city attorney about is how do we address creating a benefit district so that if the city were to have to take the lead in not only design but construction costs, how would the city be able to recoup that from avenues outside of the normal process of like excise tax that's collected when plats are filed and building permits are issued. So I don't have all the answers to that other than as we've gone through our CMIP, we've prioritized or identified and prioritized 14th Street as our #1 new street priority for the city. We have funds that are unallocated towards, that can go towards projects like this amongst quite a few funding sources, whether it's the city sales infrastructure, sales tax dollars that are coming in, capital projects, money that we use county sales tax on as well. So I think this traffic study is just kind of getting us down the road to get towards potentially applying for up to $2 million in KDOT grants. Those grants are also, unless something's changed, kind of on a 18-month cycle, so you're applying now for funds that will be made available at best the following year, if not later. So I don't know how much of it's immediate, but I understand the question you're asking, and I think it'll be, if depending on what we see with the traffic study, depending on how quickly development projects can come together, we may be outpacing a grant application with something like consideration of creating a benefit district in that area. Now, I said a lot, so I want to make sure I give anybody a chance to answer questions. The other thing that's good about this area is that even though a lot of the properties that are in this corridor aren't in existing city limits, there were plats created that already captured the full right-of-way that's required, which I believe is 80 feet. I think when we looked at it, and so those already exist up to a point. It's a little bit shy of making the connection at East Street, but to make the connection at East Street, we would have to engage the school district to get additional right-of-way. And in the past, they've proven to be great partners to work with for easement acquisitions. So,
Do we know exactly where the road will go? Like, I mean, how much room is between the cemetery and 13th Street Terrace?
well, the cemetery's too far south.
Right, I know it's going to go between those two. So
Yeah, so yeah, it's actually, if you look on the county GIS, those plats are reflected in the county's overlay that they apply, so you'll see where that,
So we do-
80-foot strip is.
So we pretty much do know where exactly
Yes.
it's going to go? Okay.
Yeah, so we would know the location specifically to tie into existing right-of-way kind of on that east end of that future intersection.
Okay.
If you can picture that. The challenge is, I think, there will be plenty of opportunity for growth in that east and south side. The question becomes, what type of intersection are we looking at? How much growth occurs to the west, if any? That's not really the direction we went with our infrastructure. And so we are much more anticipating things to stay on that southeast side of the corridor itself. But
We didn't have this in the budget. Do we have to do a budget amendment? We have the money, obviously.
yeah, I don't believe we need a budget amendment here because we do have fund balance available.
Yeah, we
That's
got-
why we're
we got
bringing
plenty
it
of
here
money.
tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got capacity that we plan for the East Street realignment collaboration with the school that this more than, that more than exceeds what we have necessary for this study.
I kind of got ahead of myself and didn't offer BG an opportunity to speak to this at all. Did you have anything to add, or?
engineers always have something to add, and you gotta be careful giving them the mic, they'll be here all night. But George did a really good job of kind of summarizing and calling attention, to answer your question, Chris. It's the study that we're gonna perform is based off future projected land use. So I don't think, short of significant changes in land use or some big traffic generator going into the industrial park or something, I don't think that you're gonna have information that gets outdated. The thing I'm excited about, the community has been talking about this project for a long time. You probably know that I'm like a dog after a bone when it comes to grant dollars to help make whether it's a bridge project, sometimes it doesn't come through and it actually delays the project from being constructed. But the thing that this study, in my mind, is going to provide you is an opportunity to look at phasing, build consensus with KDOT, other funding opportunities. Jason and I had an email going around just this morning that mentioned not only the $2 million pot of money that George is talking about, but in my mind, we need to look for creative ways to tie the rest of the project into corridor management funding. That's $2 million per project that's available. KDOT also wants to look at restricting, changing, or limiting the access at 12th Street. If that happens, it's going to require more of the street section than just the intersection of 14th Street. So 14th and 2440, let's get our $2 million. Then let's figure out a way to justify another $2 million for another phase to connect to part of the street system before the trigger falls to do something with 12th Street. There's other, once you get these estimates, right now we have lines on a piece of paper with estimates, right? You've seen those conceptual estimates that are out there. This is going to take it to that next level where we can actually start to coordinate, and it'll give Georgia a tool to negotiate with developers when they come in and say, hey, we've got a $5 million worth of 14th Street left to build to provide you access so that you can do your development. How's your participation going to look over time? And that may or may not come into play. There's a number of factors that go into those negotiations with developers. But in my mind, this is finally giving you the tool to go from that concept, highlighted street on a piece of paper, to something that actually has some details and some timing for various phases where we can break this up into pieces and get all the involvement. I don't want to start mentioning all the different players. This project, 14th Street, goes clear back to the school being built with level D, level of service, dropping kiddos off and stuff. So there's a need that a number of stakeholders could find some value in that could be approached. So I'll try to cut my comment. I'll try to leave them there unless you have more questions for me.
Council, do you have any more questions for Mr. Kingsley?
I think I would just add a little bit to what Brian mentioned since he talked about other resources. So this is also a project that I submitted on the city's behalf to Mid-America Regional Council as part of the KC Connected 2050 program. So our project is listed there. I believe there's like 3 separate categories. I think ours is an illustrative project. We scored very high. Because if you think about, we have access to jobs at the industrial park, but primarily this is access to a school campus for 2 schools. So you talk about the need for sidewalks, bikes, safe paths for a variety of commuters, and the opportunity to do something other than just, putting kids in a car to get to school, specifically for the school. Where we didn't score well is we just didn't have funding fully in place to do the project. And so now we'll have a chance to go back and engage with agencies like Mid-America Regional Council for hopefully a variety of programs that can, maybe if there's not a cost share or a program specifically for the road, maybe there is for trails or sidewalks or paths over to the school campus. So like Brian said, it does open up. For us, it's a corridor discussion because we think that's where growth will occur. But we've put a lot of other, I guess, breadcrumbs along the trail that we can go back and collect if it all kind of comes together the way we anticipate it will.
Any more questions, council? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to execute the 14th Street Traffic Study Project proposal with BG Consultants, Inc., and to issue the notice to proceed with the project.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Brian and Nathaniel, I appreciate you coming tonight and helping us out with this. Thank you. Good to see you all. Thank you. Item C, consider approval of the sale of Public Works road grader equipment on Purple Wave online auction site. Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mayor. This is officially the oldest piece of equipment that I've ever suggested, at least, that the city council dispose of. And it's actually by far one of the oldest pieces of equipment in our city public works portfolio of assets. This is a 1979 T500M motor grader. Graders, if you're not familiar with them, are utilized to level pad sites and to basically make a firm level surface. This grader has become less and less of necessary use for the Public Works Department since it was purchased back in 1989. So we bought it used, a 10-year-old machine, and Kent has suggested that we look to recoup whatever assets we can from that sale. We'll propose using the Purple Wave online auction program. We don't really know at the moment what our ballpark value is. We're hoping it's north of 5,000 and maybe in the ballpark of 10, but until we get through the auction process, there aren't actually a lot of these out there in recent auctions to get a ballpark off of. But happy to take any questions you might have. We are proposing depositing the sale proceeds in the Capital Projects Fund to help with future project costs and equipment purchases. Happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Do we have any questions?
May we combine these two in one motion?
If you'd like to, certainly. Yep.
Okay.
I can give a quick summary of the next item on the agenda. That's the authorizing the sale of miscellaneous office equipment. That equipment is in place currently at the current City Hall facility, but primarily at the old City Hall facility and the old chambers at 321 Delaware. With the deterioration of those buildings over the past several years, it's become necessary to move some file storage, both secure and non-secure, into new locations, primarily here at the new City Council chambers. So we're looking at purchasing additional storage cabinets and other materials to best fit this space and to update old equipment that's not very functional. We don't yet know the exact parameters of the online auction materials that we'll submit. We know Purple Wave will accept that in a bundled fashion and allow us to do it sort of in bulk to avoid people choosing to take certain things but not all things that we provide on auction. If you haven't been in those facilities lately, there's really not too much in there besides Christmas storage for the mayor's tree lighting event. But in the event that the auction did exceed $2,500 in proceeds, we wanted to meet our procurement policy requirement and ask for your approval before we commence the auction. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Do we have any questions?
It may be a stupid question, but is there anything that potentially like the Historical Society would deem historic or anything like that involved in there? And if so, could we give them the opportunity to at least say, we don't want it?
Sure. Yeah, we'd be happy to look through. We haven't done a complete inventory of all the old files, but there are some old photos and framed pictures and things that they may have interest in.
Any further questions? If not, I would accept a motion. Lost it for a second.
I will make a motion to authorize staff to sell the city's 1979 Galleon Road grader equipment, as well as authorize them to dispose of a combination of office equipment and supplies from the previous City Hall and previous council chambers and current City Hall facilities on the Purple Wave online auction platform.
Thank you, Mr. Partridge, and great idea about combining the two. Appreciate that. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Interesting to watch that.
All right, what was that, Chris?
Be interesting to watch that old motor grader on Purple Wave.
Yeah, it will be.
It's only got 5,300 hours, so it's a steal.
That's it for new business. City manager agenda, Mr. Brajkovic.
Thanks, Mayor. Really no items listed, but I did want to remind everyone that the Board of County Commissioners for Leavenworth County is convening a meeting about economic development this Wednesday, the 6th, at 6 p.m. at USD 464's administrative offices. So I will plan to attend. I think maybe some other staff members will. So just let us know if more than 2 of you plan to go, just in case we need to notice that for a public meeting. I don't think it's going to be an issue. We're not going to be asked to make any decisions. That was really my only item, other than I was surprised that you, as a group, you didn't take the opportunity to suggest to Mr. Heskett that after a mere 36 years of service, a piece of equipment 46 years old we're just going to sell it on Purple Wave.
Just
But
throw it away.
just throw it away.
Perfectly good grader.
I'm always amazed, and what a testimony to our staff that just keeps equipment going for years. And I don't doubt it when Mr. Porter said we may be the only 46-year-old road grader that's been listed on Purple Wave this year, maybe in the last 10 years even. So with that, Mayor, thanks for the time.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the humor. Thank you. Item 7, the city attorney agenda. Ms. Kirstulich, do you have anything?
No items, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem agenda, Ms. Stevens is unavailable tonight. City council agenda. Council, do you have any statements, questions, concerns? Okay. Mayor agenda, I don't really have anything except these 2 items that we passed, items A and B. That's exciting stuff to get going and get moving. That's it for me. Mr. Dale, do you have anything to add?
Well, since you bring it up, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you in a few weeks.